Hey Mitch, how you doing?
Dude, doing all right, brother. Yeah, the rubber duck bath party. Huh? Did you mint any of this?
Yeah, I minted two and then I bought 13 more. So now I have 15 or something.
Are you bullish?
I don't know, I like the art. They look so funny. Just because I like the art, I just bought it. Bought quite a few.
Yeah, yeah, it's good art, man. I like it too. I heard Anime Metaverse. Are y'all? How is the art coming along with your project so far?
We are we're rebuilding the base of the model at this point in time because one of the assets, the headwear accessory, turns out to have been the previous model took it from an MMD model. So because we didn't know which assets were compromised and which one wasn't, so we're just rebuilding everything from scratch.
Wow,
So
with the
the
same
N
artist.
fungible team has been moved from the modeling of N fungible into Anime Metaverse at this point in time. So N fungible will be delayed by 2 weeks.
Got you, got you. Yeah. We're excited to have you, bro, because you're working on so much, and Anime Metaverse has obviously been something that's been pretty hype in the community. Uh, and yeah, wanted to get your, have this be like a touch base point, especially with the revamping and the update of the artwork, and see where y'all are at, and also get a sense of what else you're working on, bro. It just seems like you're everywhere.
Yeah, sounds good. Let me know what you guys want to know about it.
So I think we could start there, right? So if you want to tell us or just make introductions, a little bit about yourself, your background in the space, and anime metaverse.
Yeah, sounds good. So quick intro to myself. I started two companies. One was 21, second was 25. Then I started investing heavily in the public and private markets. Um, I went into things like the pre IPOs, went into a lot of the private investments, and then me and my best friend started a fund together. It's called Alpha CW. It's a 200 mil fund on the blockchain. So everything's listed on Polkadot, and we've done quite a few investments. We went into a lot of ICOs in the early days. We funded a lot of the he raised the company called Digix. It was the first on-chain ICO in the world. Subsequently, was the third technical ICO, first on-chain ICO on Ethereum. Then there was the Digix DAO, which was 380,000 ETH in the DAO. And then we funded a lot of the initial ICOs like Polkadot ICO and the like of those. Then we took a break from ICO investments and went into more of private investments again. So we started investing very heavily in the funds and became LPs, limited partners in the funds. So we went into anywhere from like 500 startups, Forge Ventures, Antlers, a lot of the seed stage funds around the world, and for us to gain exposure to see what's happening within every single market. Then we built our own companies after that again. So now I run a market intelligence company. We work with all kinds of brands like Bloomberg to companies like Uniqlo. Um, and then about 8 months ago, in Singapore there's a reservist. And in the reservists, it's basically that you have to go back to the army for 2 weeks every year. And at that point in time, we started looking into NFTs. So we told ourselves that on the first day that we look into NFTs, we won't spend more than like $1,000 on this ever. And the first day we spent 100,000, and then from there on we started buying up lots of random things. And that was a quick intro to how I got into the NFT space. Other than that, for Anime Metaverse, quick intro to that as well. The goal of Anime Metaverse is to literally be, as the name says, it's the Anime Metaverse of the world. The goal is to bring different brands, in real life anime brands, through licensing partnerships into the Web3 space and through NFTs, launch within our ecosystem within the Anime Metaverse itself. We do this through buying up the digital rights, owning the digital licensing that allows us to then produce the different NFTs. And it's done through summoning of these characters within the game of Anime Metaverse itself, where you have to collect different crafting tools and you can craft it, then you summon the characters, and then you get to have your favorite in real life anime characters within the game itself. I'll take a pause there and to see if there's any questions so far. Nope. Okay, so
Yeah. No. Keep going.
Yeah, so Anime Metaverse is part of a three-part ecosystem. There is Anime Metaverse, there's N Fungible, and there's a game called Rule Breaker. So N Fungible is similar to Anime Metaverse, but focus on the fashion side of things. So the goal of that is to partner with the fashion brands uh, and create composable avatars that allows them to build upon the avatars and launch their skins within the NFT world in Web3. Then combine that with the games, the upcoming games or the popular games within the market. So you're able to carry your skins and your characters across the different games. At the start, we think that the easiest way to do is carry the skins, given that skins are more composable than avatars. And then you're able to play that within different games. The all these companies, whether it's AM, NF, or Worldbreaker, they're all companies that are fund invested into. So for Infungible, we have like the president of Riot Games, we have the uh, ex-president of DKNY, Burberry, like those, so there's the gaming and the fashion aspect. And then Worldbreaker is a final part to it. World Breaker is meant to be a the way to break the barrier between the metaverse and in real life. So it's a game whereby the first clue starts on the newspaper around the world, a regional newspaper around the world, which then leads you into either the AM or the NF ecosystem metaverse. Following which you have 3 to 4 clues to complete, and then the last clue is a location in real life that you have to either travel to or send a friend towards. If you get and you find the location, then you win 100,000 US every week. Every week that the price isn't claimed, it rolls into a bigger price pot. But that was fully funded already by the first year at least was fully funded by FRCW.
Wow, you said 100,000 each week?
Yeah, it'll be quite a fun game.
Yeah, sign me up. How many weeks are you doing that for?
At the start, we funded it for 52 weeks so far, so we know that we have at least a year of games. Subsequent to that, we need to talk to the founders for it. Yeah, we just invested because we like the concept of it and we like playing games a lot. And this one sounds like a combination between like Amazing Race and like Survivor.
Yeah, this is wild. Are you gonna have drones or something trying to like capture it, or some guy at the end to document this?
Yeah, that's the idea. So basically, there'll be an end result. The end result isn't so clear as well, which is that you can't just go to a location and win the money. You have to go to a location and find the clue to win to find the code to win. So the idea is to document it quite heavily. And any NFTs that you find in game can translate to something in real life. Anything you find in real life translates something in game. So we want a bridge between the two sides.
Yeah, that's awesome, and I love your 3-pronged approach. I want to dive into each of those a little bit more, but yeah, wow, no, this is crazy. So I'm getting flashbacks to the Tom Sachs Rocket Factory treasure hunt in NFT NYC, and yeah, I mean, it's crazy the lengths people will go to find these things, and that was for maybe like 5 or 10K. So this is going to be, yeah. Are you worried that there could be any like negative repercussions with this, or people could get like hurt or something?
Yeah, so that's why we limited a lot of the in real life aspects of things. The in real life aspect is just you find the location, you have to resolve the puzzle. It won't be any physical activities, because we don't fancy getting sued for any problems around someone knocking each other down. So we try to keep a lot of the competition in the metaverse. But the physical location part is just is a puzzle clue. That if you solve it, you win it.
Okay, gotcha. And then are all of these connected to Anime Metaverse specifically, and that's like the main metaverse behind it, or are they all pretty separate and just supporting Anime Metaverse?
They're all quite separate, but they're all part of, they use the same tokenomics. So there'll be underlying tokenomics that will be the same for all three of them. The access point of N Fungible. So N Fungible is a very small collection. It's only 2,000 pieces. And most of it will be sold to the fashion, gaming, and tech executives around the world. And the way we do our minting for all three of them is a bit different as well. I'll go through the minting process later on. But every part has its own law. For example, the anime metaverse law focuses a lot within the magic circles and summoning of anime characters. And to get that, you have to craft different scrolls, and you're able to change your NFT depending upon what level you become and what scrolls you collect along the way, which gives you different chances of getting different characters within the ecosystem itself. We're also hosting an anime Web3 convention in June. We hosted online, but we have quite a few studios that will be speaking within that space as well. Then and fungible will be very different. That one it utilizes the same base tokenomics, and the metaverse takes about 18 months to build. So I'll just put that out there at the moment. The metaverse is a very slow and daunting process to build it. So what you do first is you build the components of the metaverse, different aspects of the games. You build it in 2D, Tesla. You build the different components like what is the staking component looking like? What is the farming component looking like? What's the crafting component looking like? And then before everything goes to the 3D, it's 2D, and then you move it along unique components phases. That's how the AAA games take their approach as well. But a different way that AAA games also take their approach is that they also have a lot more time to build. But in the NFT space, we are also very excited for quicker results. So rather than take the 18 to 26 months to build that, we have to give composable results that just acts as the building blocks behind it. Yeah, and then World Breaker doesn't have its own metaverse, but it uses the both of them, both anime and fungible.
Awesome. Okay, cool. And maybe we start there. We'll go dive deeper into anime metaverse specifically, as you know that is the main reason we're here. You were talking about the scrolls and the leveling. Can you tell me, like, what is the goal of anime metaverse? What am I doing in there? Who am I interacting with? And yeah, how can I, rule the world or whatever I'm doing?
So the goal of anime metaverse for the game system, the law itself, is the crafting of different scrolls that will allow you to summon different characters. And depending upon the characters that you want to summon, you have to utilize different scroll levels. So let's say that you manage to so the goal of anime metaverse, right? For the in real life side is to do a lot of business development and partnerships to either acquire the rights through acquisition of the company, through investments, or through partnerships of the anime studios which owns the global licensing rights of NFTs. You can't get it on a local or regional basis. It has to be global, given the nature of NFTs itself. And then we want to bring these characters into the game. Initially, you won't be within the metaverse itself. It just be summoning of the anime characters, whereby you get, depending upon the scrolls, you get the characters for free. Depending upon your level, you have a higher chance of crafting. Depending upon how you manage to hunt for the berries, there'll be different berries you're able to collect and utilize. And each berry, I can't disclose at this point in time, but each berry is a consumable. They'll also change your character traits basically. Then as we progress right down the road, as we get more and more anime characters, you're able to summon them, whether in terms of the anime characters itself, or you want to summon the different aspects of it. You can summon pets, you can summon different things. All these kind of things will interact, going back to the tokenomics of the ecosystem itself.
Gotcha. So when I'm summoning these the characters, are there certain tasks or quests that they're helping me do to earn the token?
Yes, there will be. So the different quests, the quest is entirely focused around the magic levels that you are able to gather. So the more magic levels you can gather, then the higher chances you have of crafting of any system. And the only way you can go on quests and go to magic levels is not on the passive staking mentality. It's an active staking. So a lot of the concepts that we've taken to develop this is looking into games like Supercell, basically traditional games rather than the blockchain games, and look into the mechanics of it to see how it operates, what makes it actually be successful, why aren't they successful in some other games.
Gotcha. Okay, so if you had to compare Anime Metaverse to one existing game, give people sort of a frame of reference, what would that be?
If you want to frame a reference, the end result should be similar to Animal Crossing, but it's a hybrid model of it. Animal Crossing and games like Clash of Clans. But it's not meant to be a competitive game. It's meant to be a very positive game you can't. It's not a fighting game as well. It's just meant to be an enjoyment game whereby you're able to interact with your anime characters that you have seen and that you're grown up with, and you're able to interact with each of them as you go through the different questing levels.
Awesome. I love it. I think, I'm a big fan of Animal Crossing. So I think that, there needs to be some games that, aren't all about competition and fighting, and you can just kind of, wind down and relax. And if the stock market there was making me money, that'd be even better. So it sounds like anime metaverse could be the best of both worlds. Is that kind of what you're going for, or?
Yeah, we're going for a building kind of environment whereby the interaction you have with the anime characters as well as the community is a lot of collaboration. So that the only way you're able to progress through different quests and different levels is heavily focused around the collaboration and the how tight knit the community is. So everything we're doing right in the server for Anime Metaverse and like is entirely just to build the strength of the community. We have three different levels within our server. You have the three main levels. The first level is a soulmate level, and that's basically you just joining the server itself, and everyone becomes a soulmate. The second level is that you become a ping list, and that is a whitelist system. And the third level is the Genesis list. The Genesis list means that you are part of the core building group of Envy Metaverse already, and your inputs are very highly appreciated and required to help us build out the law, the community, everything. And the different segmentations of that as well goes into the only way you're able to get access into things like the Genesis group is through debates and heavily doing debates within the channels that showcases your long-term thinking so that the people that we bring in all have they don't have the same mentality, but they have the same drive within them and the same ideals. Um, that's the basis behind everything, and it goes also within the ecosystem that we want to develop.
Awesome. How many people are going to be in each tier, or have you already cultivated so far?
We for the ping list it'll be 4,005, and the Genesis will be 500. But in a month and a half time, we've only filled up 129 slots of the Genesis. We're very slow and deliberate in the Genesis slots. And these are actually run by the committees within the Genesis group. So every Genesis member has a chance or the opportunity to join a committee of their choice. It's on a voluntary basis. It's not on the compulsory basis. And the idea here is that they are able to one of the committees is the nomination of new OG members. So, for example, the only way to get the OG slot, the Genesis slot, is to participate within the debates. And then within the debates itself, you had to be nominated by a current Genesis member, and then there's a committee that basically which is run by the Genesis members themselves. It's a decentralized community behind it. It's in charge of looking through the history, see how they interact, see whether they have embodied the ideals that we want, the culture, and then it moves into the Genesis group. So instead of us doing it, the Soulmaker and Lily and Sway and the like of those, we've given this to our Genesis members, so that our Genesis members are playing a very active role within growing this ecosystem.
Sway, we need him up here. But yeah, I love it. I think that's a great way to do it. You obviously have time to build, and it's good that you're being very deterministic in your selections. I like the idea of debates, right? Because there's a lot of different opinions, and you'll really see who is, I think, when they're kind of under that pressure, or in that sort of more tense situation, and see where their interests are. And okay, so we kind of went through the tiers and the groupings there. I'd love to learn more about some of the active stuff that you're doing right now. it looks like there was a sandbox event that might have happened recently. Can you talk about what kind of other metaverses you're expanding into, or how those like collaborations would work?
Yeah, so for the Sandbox event is an upcoming event because it happens once every 2 months. Um, the goal of that is what we're doing for that is that there's a plot of sandbox land that is hidden within the sandbox ecosystem, and the game happens every 2 months. If you manage to find the plot of sandbox land within that, there's a clue, and if you manage to solve all 10 clues, you win the plot of land that you have found basically. Um, so it's a prelude to the World Breaker game. But this one is entirely within the metaverse, entirely within being able to understand the different clues and the history behind it. And the only way that the answer to the clues actually resides within Rika's diaries. And Rika is one of the main characters within anime metaverse. She acts as the architect behind everything. And she writes a diary a day that is sent out to the community. And within the diary are links to different aspects to different clues that will occur that you require to solve it. So it's just meant to be as a fun, light-hearted game for our community. To again go back into the inclusion and participation within the community itself. You're able to build teams. And we usually recommend you build teams, given that the clues requires different ways of thinking. Some maybe require some lateral thinking, some is critical thinking, some is more of a problem solving, some is more creative. So there are different levels of the clues as well, and that touches upon different aspects of each individual traits.
Awesome, I love it. When are you releasing that it's coming up?
The upcoming game, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, is in 4 or 5 days time. Actually, 3 to 5 days time. I can't remember which day it was. This one is managed by Soulmaker.
Awesome. Okay. Well, yeah, if you're listening, I guess I would turn on post notifications for Anime Metaverse. Stay tuned for the Sandbox Scavenger Hunt. Seems like it could be worth your while. And then maybe your Discord's closed currently, right?
Yep, that's correct. Discord's closed at the moment.
Okay. So can you explain maybe the decision behind that, and then if there will be opportunities for new people to join, when those will be, or how they'll have that opportunity?
So we closed the Discord because with and we specifically do not release much information around on Twitter or anything. It's because we try to stay away from hyping up our project, and we prefer the organic the organic route. So whenever our Discord gets larger than 30,000 people, we tend to shut down the Discord for a while, and then we remove 2,000 members per day. Until we get back to around 15,000 members, give or take, within a 7-day period. And then subsequent to that, then we'll reopen the Discord again, and repeat the cycle as many times as required. Same reason for the usage of Twitter, or the lack of usage of Twitter at this point in time. We feel that if the project gets too hyped, it's harder for us to build real bonds with the community. And when you're building a startup, right, a startup requires the core team, the foundational team, to be able to move in the same direction very quickly, and with the same mentality and mindsets towards the same direction. And this one gets very complicated when the size of the community is large, given that we then have to figure out who is authentic and who is here to more of just flip the NFTs. And while trading is very important within the space itself, and I also do encourage trading because it provides liquidity into individuals. The challenge is that the initial group of people you bring in, you want to limit the amount of trading that happens, so that you're able to build for the long term. Because imagine investing, let's say, about 3 months, 4 months, 5 months into your community, and then suddenly your community all just disappears, and then you have to rebuild that again. So the 4 or 5 months that you have is relatively, for the lack of a better word, gets a bit destroyed. So we try to remove that aspect of things. So I mean, in the way that we do our minting is also a bit different. We mint in phases. So the Genesis OG, Genesis group will mint 100 at a time over a 5-week period, and then only the pink list will start minting. So there's a very long period in between the Genesis mints as well as the pingless mints. Because from here you're able to see whether if the Genesis group has been selected correctly, then and that means we're all building towards the future. And we're all building towards the future, then the floor price will by its natural progression increase over time, given the lack of supply but high demand because of the continuous build that comes out of it, which then gives the ping list members, once the 5 weeks is over, the chance whether they do the mint or not to mint. Rather than us trying to mint everything at the start, we can reduce the mint price and mint everything within the start, but then the community isn't strong. So rather than take that approach, we decided to take a slower, more deliberate approach to building out the foundational levels. So each of the Genesis members, for example, gets, if they want to, they get a chance to be trained by in real life leader, whether it's like the president of Burberry, whether it's the head of FX of trading of a bank. We are bringing these different in real life leaders to train the team leads within the committees on a one-to-one basis.
Yeah, I mean, you guys are savages. That's a lot of people to kick out every month, I believe you said, or whenever it gets to that level. But I respect it because it shows the dedication to what you're building, and you're not gonna tolerate people that aren't fully engaged and involved in the process. So I think that's going to ultimately lead to the best end product and end community. You might rub people the wrong way along the way, and people might get a little butthurt about getting kicked out. But you got to crack a few eggs to make an omelet. So I think that's the way to do it.
I want to say too, Alpha. I think our conversation when we had first met was so eye opening because the way that you are approaching the NFT space comes with a huge backing and understanding of the retail industry, as well as some of these other like the gaming industry with your connections affiliations with like Riot. Can you talk to us more about that side of the wheelhouse and your expertise there, and how you plan to sort of adapt that in what you do with NFTs and the Web3 specifically?
Yeah. So I built companies in the I guess the Web 1 initially, and then I went to the Web 2 and built companies there as well, and then the Web 3. And along the way, I've also invested in more than at this point in time, I think it's more than 60 or 70 companies already, on either personal capacity or through my fund that is privately owned. And within this, we started building up a few different connections in real life as well as in the ICO space. So we became one of 20 super angels by Amazon, which means that any company that we invest into, that we want to partner with, we can assign Amazon partnerships to them. Basically, it means that you get access to the Amazon ecosystem with all the funds, all the VCs, accelerators, architecture support, everything behind that as well. And we've taken the same approach, the way that we've grown our own companies in the past, the way we've grown the Web 2, the Web 3, the Web 2 companies, the Web 1, the funds, into the same approach into our anime metaverse, and every ecosystem that we are building towards, which is a very collaborative approach. On the individual capacity, right, it's very hard to make a dent in the market, and it requires a huge amount of funding. And when I say huge, I don't mean like 50 mil or 100 mil. I'm talking more around the lines of like 500 mil to deploy within the company to make that into something super successful. Given that the more companies that appear, the more you have to fight for mind share. So rather than take an individual approach, I do believe that a collaborative approach is better to go down towards. Partner with existing anime companies, partner with existing projects, build up composability, build up partnerships with gaming studios, and take that approach into growing the anime metaverse rather than building everything individually by ourselves. Sometimes there are some setbacks as well. For example, there will always be setbacks in this kind of model. The main setbacks is that sometimes the quality control can be a bit challenging, given that a lot of responsibility is given to individuals. maybe one quick example of that is like when we were doing the designs for the headwear of like AM and some of the hairstyles. Every part was designed by different team members, and because we're not sure where some of the designs come from, because whether it's authentic or not authentic, then it compromises some parts of the model itself. But the way you work through this is basically that you tell your community, be transparent, and then you figure out from there who else wants to still participate within this project. You may make the same mistake again, second time, a third time, or fourth time, but I still think that it's better to make these mistakes early on and just keep making the same mistakes, and rather than to change rather than to build everything yourself internally. This is a personal belief.
Yeah, I think you've I mean, especially with your like vast experience in, I don't know, like the Web 1, Web 2, and sort of snowballing that expertise. Like, I really am curious, bro, because you come into the Web 3 space at a super high level. A lot of us in this like conversation today, don't have that breadth of expertise like you have, didn't have visibility into investment opportunities, like for platforms like Polygon, FTX, or even, some of the Web 2 stuff. So that's what I think is really cool is people like you are coming into this space and finding that this is and investing into the space. Can you talk to us a little bit more about from that perspective of like a VC or someone that's already like created wealth for themselves and measurable wealth? What does it mean to come into the Web3 space? What does this space mean to you? What are you looking to bring to it? And what are you looking to sort of receive from it?
So the easiest thing to answer for that way is is just having fun. In anything that you do, right? If you're not enjoying the process of it, then a lot of times I don't see the value in sticking around for the long term. The Web3 space, this space, right, is very similar to the ICO days in the when I was there. The early days was very fun. You made a lot of friends. Some friends are a bit wacky. Some are very crafty. Some are super genuine, and I know they just do random things with you. I met a few friends like that in this space already. That I can rely upon, that I can chat with, that I can go out and school him left, right, and center just for fun, because he doxes himself too much or something. But yeah, there are a lot of things you can do in this space. But I enjoy this space because it's a very fun, fast moving space, driven by individuals largely who wants to change themselves, or to have an opportunity to enter this space to make a lot of because it's a huge opportunity. But from a VC point of view, right, this space is still very hard to navigate because there are no set valuation multiples. And how VCs operate is through set valuation multiples. So, for example, when I invest into a company, I will look towards their PE ratio, I'll look towards their potential. But more importantly, if it's a company is, let's say, a baby company, right, just a startup, then the only metric that you have, whether it's a Web3 or whether it's a startup itself, is on the team itself. So, can you trust the team? Because very likely, I can say that in startups, it's like I almost guaranteed this, which is that a startup's initial idea will not be the final idea that they run with. It would probably pivot 3, 4, 5 times, and it's that belief within that team that the company will do well or not do well. But within NFTs, it's a bit difficult because people like when you over promise, which is again not really a bad thing, but because you are very passionate about it. But it's just about how much you want to promise to your community. That's number one. Number two is that the community itself likes to hold you accountable for every mistake of the words that you use. And this isn't healthy in an environment because if you a startup is meant to pivot once they realize that the initial concept may not be viable within the market. And what a startup requires, right? A startup requires time to develop this. A startup requires money to develop it. So when a project has minted out and maybe they realize that the initial core concept just does not work, then they should have the opportunity to change that narrative a little bit as they redevelop it to better serve their audiences or their community. And this is what the startup space provides, and the Web3 space doesn't at this point in time, which they should provide. Um,
Gotcha.
maybe the last.
So would you say more so like having a flexible roadmap and allowing the investors, the collectors of the NFTs to cultivate that change to be more like long down the road thinking and think more like a as someone that's investing in a startup? Are you saying that those principles have yet to be applied to, or like um, that perspective has yet to sort of kick in for an NFT investor? Because there are some investors that are investing for the long term, right? And but more so
Yes.
GameFi, more so play and earn games, those sorts of assets. So it's like, from a startup standpoint, right? If you're like evaluating a startup and the value they're going to provide to like the world, it's hard to also make that comparison with a PFP project, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's correct. So you have a few different types of projects, right? You have the PFP project, which is a more of an emotional based project. The emotion behind it is that you identify with the PFP that you're buying into, and I'll classify those under art. Art, you pay whatever price you want because you enjoy the art, you like the art, and regardless of how the floor price goes, you should really tell yourself, I like this art, I believe in the artwork. Regardless of floor price, I'm going to hold it. The second type of project is that it's a utility-based project. Utility-based project is that, okay, what's the utility around this? What have they promised me, and what are they able to develop and deliver? So it's still to have a roadmap, but it's to change the format of the roadmap. Roadmaps, even for startups which have been operating for 2, 3, 4 years, are usually not that sustainable, or actually not it's not sustainable at all, because KPIs, roadmaps, are very clear timelines behind these kind of things. Are usually for larger organizations that are looking to grow on a 10 to 12% year on year basis, whereby very rarely are they able to do a significant change other than an acquisition or a partnership or a merger. But a startup can make very big changes simply by slightly altering their direction. So instead of giving a clear roadmap, I recommend giving things like guiding principles, and telling the community these are the end results to what we want to achieve, and these are the possible routes for us to get there. If at any point in time the routes change, we'll let you guys know and we update you guys along the way, and as well as our thought process, which is the most important thing. And we hope that you're able to trust us that we're always building this for the community. And again, this one comes a lot from the postman projects. But then the challenge is that the committee wasn't told this at the start, right? And if the committee wasn't told this at the start, then the expectations that is set is different already. Again, that part goes actually into the challenge of the project, not on the investor or the community member in this case, because they did not set the right relationship with their investors and community at the start.
Yeah, I really like how you're approaching this, bro. And what blew me away by your perspective is that, again, it's like it's a fresh take. Like we all, like a lot of founders of projects in the NFT space, especially the ones that have launched, don't have that sort of like breadth of experience that you do, and that perspective that you have, where you want to have fun and you want to keep an open mind that the roadmap will adapt, and it's probably a good thing. Like in the Web2 space, if you invest in a startup and they're not open to updating or changing their like value proposition, does that make you less bullish at all, or are you like, what are some of the teams? Can you talk about like what are some teams that impress you in the NFT space, obviously other than us, and like how there's a similarity there, if there is one, for your investments in the Web2 space?
Yeah, actually, I'm actually very impressed with your team, by the way, because the follow-ups are good. It's very professional. The times are met. Yeah, I really enjoyed the process of talking to you guys. Uh, Other than that, you find that this also exists within teams like the Dreamland Genesis team. I think those guys are a very good team. Um, they came out to the market. They are very authentic. They're very transparent. Anytime there's any changes or any challenges, they update the community very quickly. Um, I've also seen this a few times from a few different teams. Like the Godzilla team is also very good. Thought process is clear. Community understands the vision, and Sean is a good communicator to his team. It's same for startups. For startups, a lot of it is on the ability to adapt quickly. And so going back to your question on whether I'm bullish on companies that do not like to adapt, right? Yeah, so the companies that do not adapt, I do not like to invest into those kind of deals because ultimately the initial investment is into the founder, and the founder has to be flexible in the mindset, which is that the initial thing may not work, rather than to try to fit a square peg in a round hole, adapt and get your community to help you with that adaptation. Yeah, a bit more on that is that there's a lot of VCs looking into the space at the moment, a lot of traditional VCs looking into the space, but they're having a challenging time understanding how it moves, rightfully so, given it changes so quickly. But it's the same as the ICO period, which is that a lot of funds will start appearing, which will bring a lot more capital into the space. And then it's about how do you start working with the funds, given that they're able to provide upfront capital, and that means that you don't have to rush your mints anymore, because people rush a lot of mints because they need the capital, right? But once the funds start coming into play, that requirement around capital reduces heavily, and you're able to build better, stronger communities because you're able to then choose your committee members that you want, rather than your committee members choosing you. Yeah, so it works on both sides for this.
Yeah, that's a good point you bring up. The fact that you're not rushing because you're not necessarily strapped for the investment, or at least the capital right up front, right? Like it seems like a lot of what you're doing and working on already is being self-funded. Am I understanding that correctly?
Yep, it's self-funded because my fund invested into Anime Metaverse. We put in a few $1 million into it, and we also sold a few one-to-ones for $100,000 each, which we announced soon. We've collected the money already. Yeah, and they're all from it's a mixture. So half of it is from in real life folks, and the other half of it are from project founders themselves that believe in the long term of Anime Metaverse, or that wants to build upon Anime Metaverse in the future as well. So we did a few one-to-one sales for that, and all of this is then utilized to build up the conventions that we want to hold, start utilizing it to do licensing deals and partnership deals. But this also allows us to think very carefully around the minting process and the community we want to develop, given that there's no rush for us to actually mint it out because we have the funds behind it already.
So, yeah, talking a little bit more about that, I definitely agree with the approach you're taking and taking your time. But I feel like there is a balance in terms of having, deadlines and deliverables. And so, how do you kind of meet those two, where you still are actively moving towards your goals and not just kind of setting the bar higher and higher and never reaching it?
The way to do it is through getting the community very heavily involved in this. So let's go into things like the creation of the Genesis committees. When we want to add in a new member, I may have, for example, 10 people I want to add into the Genesis group. But upon sending these 10 people to the committee says they only like 7 out of 10 because they believe the other 3 out of 10 may not fit the guiding principles. Now, the larger the committee, the better it becomes because we're able to handle more different workloads and different focus on different areas. But then it becomes a choice by the committee itself whether they want to bring in different member groups. So the bar will remain the same. The challenging part will be that there'll be more people competing for the same position. Because if you look towards any form of selection process, right, whether it's ours, whether it's a different thing, whitelist process, the initial part is that everyone gets towards a certain level over a relatively same time period. But those that are able to push maybe 20% faster are more likely to get it at the start, and then it starts becoming a bigger competition between the remaining part of it. So what we do in our case is that we just tell them that we can do 100 Genesis mints every week for 5 weeks. And then the ping list means if we're not able to fill out the Genesis collection within that, we push some of the mints back. And we can't still fill it up, then maybe we push. Then we can rethink as a committee how we can fill this up, or if we want to fill this up, or whether we just reduce the Genesis slice and push everything else to the ping list.
Okay, gotcha. I think that makes sense. So you're trying to have more of like a steady flow throughout, so that you can elongate that process and make it more even throughout. Because I mean, the way you described it is exactly how it is. It's almost like a gas war, right? Where the people get in early can get in that first block or whatever, first whitelist, and it's a lot easier. They don't have to put as much effort or time. And then as the demand kind of builds up, it gets a little crazy towards the end, and you're having to spend a lot more time and effort to get that same benefit or result.
Yeah, so this one goes into basically the how much are you able to look within the past the surface and into the project and the community. Because oftentimes, right, at least within from what I know about the ICO days as well as the NFTs at this point in time, is that when we look into a project, we give it maybe like a 10-second glance and say, okay, is this obtainable? Is this something that I want to dedicate my time towards? And the quickest way that we do it is just looking into the links, initial links, looking into things like the general chat to see how active and engaged it is. If it's active and engaged, we don't usually look past that surface level, and we just start participating within the chat itself uh, while reading out how to get the whitelist slots, or in our case, the pink list slots. For ours, we did it completely differently. We shut down the general channel because we don't believe that general channel pre-mint is conducive in terms of community building. And we told that to the community during a town hall. We just said that we don't believe this is conducive, given that a lot of the conversation that happens here is more of a how are you doing? I'm doing great. Good morning, good night, LFG. I mean, it's good to showcase people are active, and that was a point in time whereby Anime Metaverse was most talked about as well. And then we said, okay, remove the vanity metrics, focus more around quality engagement metrics. Let's do this wild experiment where we shut down the general channel and push everyone to different ideals channel, which are debating channels, to see the long-term mindsets. And almost instantaneously, a lot of the grinders started disappearing. Because we totally just removed them from the server because they didn't understand now how to get a ping list or whitelist slots. The other side of it is that when people start trying to game system, for example, in our case, we have a community pass, and the only way to get the community pass is to go to different channels to understand more about the lore and the character creation behind Anime Metaverse. And then a lot of people would share it within their individual groups. And it's quite easy to spot these kind of things. Then what we end up doing is that we created a jail, and the jail is to put people into jail, and we explain the reason why you're in jail, and this is how you can get out of jail if you do certain action points correctly. We jailed one of your members, by the way, just for fun. His name is Ken Crypto Sim. He enjoyed his time in the jail.
Oh man,
He's a naughty boy, that one.
Yeah, but the funniest thing is that a lot of our Genesis members consist of people we jailed. So for some very weird reason, they end up escaping the jail and becoming joining the Genesis group.
damn! I low-key want to see what jail's like. I'm just curious now. I feel left out.
A lot of picking up the soap.
Oh no. But yeah, no, I love how you have it set up. It's so intentional, everything that you're doing, and it's all around. You have your North Star, you have your goal, which is to build out that community as strong as you can, and to get that really good foundation and core team of people who are passionate about what you're building. And you're cutting out all the fluff, right? You're putting the incentives in place for them to do the actions that are going to benefit the community most. And yeah, I just think it's really smart what you're doing, and I love seeing new projects like this come into the space, because I think it sets a new standard and puts the bar a little bit higher, and then people see that and try to match it. So it brings up the whole space, and just helps innovate. So I think that's awesome what you're doing, and I'm excited to see how other people hopefully implement it as well, and how you guys continue to change it. I mean, taking away the general chat, that's a pretty drastic change, but it seems to have really paid off. So I'm sure there's even more ways you guys can continue to improve, and that's the beauty of Web3.
Yeah, it's a very open space for everyone to learn. That's what I like about this space as well.
Awesome. Well, we are coming up on the hour mark here, and I would love to see. It is very secretive from the outside when you can just see the Twitter posts and things like that. I'd love to see what people in the audience who might not know as much or are learning a lot today, what questions they have, and what they can learn from this interaction. So I see Peerless just joined the chat, almost like on call. I'm sure he's got plenty of questions. But yeah, if you do have questions, feel free to request. We will get you up here in a timely manner. And yeah, Mitch or Meg, do you guys have anything you want to ask or go into?
Yeah, I'd definitely love to just recap on like everything that was discussed and sort of, Alpha. It sounds like you're back in the rebuilding phase, and I love that you're not pressed for time and sort of like front running yourself and having to feel pressure there. Um, is there any specifics around the drop, around the upcoming sale from Anime Metaverse that you'd like to share at this time, or should we just like maybe book that a little bit further ahead, that alpha leak a little bit further ahead down the road while you're building?
Yeah, maybe we can do it a bit further down the road. Right now, the only drops that were coming up will be the one-to-one collections as well as the initial Genesis minting that we have scheduled for in about 10 days' time, if the schedule still works for all of us. But that's
Amazing.
also very community dependent.
Can you do you want to give that little alpha share of how you're going to be hooking the Metaverse HQ members up that we have not yet announced?
Oh yeah, every Metaverse HQ member gets a future pass, which means that it's one of the hardest passes to get at this point in time. So as long as you do collab land, showcase you hold a Metaverse HQ pass, you automatically get the future pass attached to your profile.
Let's fucking go, brother. Thank you so much. You said your brother only got one? You said you're only giving him one?
Yeah, my brother's there as well. So he also got we removed him from that. So if he gets a future pass, we have to remove it from him. We told him that he has to figure out his own ways to get the access into Anime Metaverse.
All right. Well, tell your brother he can join Metaverse HQ. It's a nice, easy way to get in.
Oh, he's there already. He has the Metaverse HQ pass already.
No way. What's your brother's name?
Yeah. I don't think he wants me to dox him. He doesn't share his real Discord ID with me as well. I think he's embarrassed because he's my younger brother.
Yeah. I love that, man. Well, thank you for hooking us up at Metaverse HQ, and I love that you brought your brother into the space and you're hooking him up. I mean, been doing the same, really close with keeping the inner circle tight and fed. And really huge shout out to your brother if he's doxed and listening to this. Thank you for connecting us with your older brother. It's a nice family we've got going on here. So really appreciate your time, Alpha.
Thanks a lot for this. Thanks for having me.
All right, brother. We'll speak soon. And thank you, everyone, for tuning in. A little bit of an alpha leak. We will be pressing the attack on announcing that. But yes, we have a nice entry point. Thanks to Alpha and Anime Metaverse and everyone wonderful over there. We will have more information for you shortly. And yeah, this has been a really awesome chat. Thank you so much.
I love it. Yeah, thank you everyone for tuning in.